We're going to call to order tonight's July 7th, 2026 Corcoran Planning Commission meeting. We'll begin with a roll call. Commissioner Scherber.
Here.
Commissioner Hargreaves.
Here.
Commissioner Kozicki. Here. Commissioner Zachman.
Here.
And Commissioner Brumman is here. I don't know why I just blinked on that. I apologize. I'm going to invite you all to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us. July 7th, 2026. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Commissioner Brumman is here. I don't know why I just blinked. It must have been the mustache. I know, exactly. Just kidding. Okay, and next we're going to go and find out if staff or commissioners have any changes to the agenda for tonight.
Staff has some changes, Madam Chair.
Okay, and if none of the commissioners have changes, then I will make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? And then next we'll move into the open forum. Open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the Planning Commission on items that are not on tonight's agenda. It's only allowed public comments for those who are in person. And then I'm trying to think if there's anyone here who needs to approach the podium, then you would state your name and address. If there are no comment cards, which I don't believe any comment cards are given, but we still just want to give anybody the opportunity if you're here to address the commission on something not on tonight's agenda. If not, then we will move into the meeting minutes from June 4th, 2026. And commissioners, you had obviously the opportunity to approve those minutes. Is somebody ready to make a motion to approve those?
I actually have an edit
Absolutely.
to the minutes. I think for the approval of the minutes from the last meeting, it has Chair Brumman is making the motion.
You were here in spirit. I was here in spirit, just not in spirit.
So maybe just a review of who had completed those. Or made that motion for approving the minutes in the minutes.
We can make that adjustment.
Okay.
Excellent. And with that edit, then I'll make a motion to approve the June 4th, 2026 meeting minutes.
I'll second.
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Okay, and so then our next agenda item is unfinished business, which is the Springs at Corcoran preliminary plat, rezoning, and preliminary PUD. And we're going to begin with the input from staff.
Yeah, Madam Chair, the applicant and city staff are continually having conversations about some items regarding the application, and those items should be addressed before a complete analysis can be conducted by city staff. So since those items aren't available for today's Planning Commission meeting, and will likely not be ready for the August meeting, staff recommends that the Commission open the public hearing again and then vote to table it to the September 3rd, 2026 Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dwight. So at this point in time, we will open the public hearing, and then I will make a motion to table the public hearing, until September 3rd, 2026.
Second.
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Okay, that takes us to our new business, which is the Lost Loon site plan and variance. And we're going to begin with a staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 7A is Lost Loon, which includes a site plan interim use permit and variance. The applicant is Dan Schoblom. I'm sorry, Schoblom, sorry. I had it and then I lost it. And he is representing Lost Loon LLC. The site location is 20120 Auger Avenue. This is our existing industrial area that is west of County Road 116 and south of County Road 10 and 50. They are looking for site plan approval for a state licensed indoor cannabis cultivation business. They also need an IUP to reduce the parking requirements based on their business model to 19 And the variance would be to allow for up to 30% impervious surface within the shoreland overlay district. And we'll talk about each of those a bit more. So currently the site is vacant, and it's a 2.12 acre site. It has been vacant since the 1970s. It proved to be a challenging site to develop, especially for an industrial user. The site is zoned light industrial, and every property surrounding it is zoned for light industrial. There is a tributary stream along the west side, and so most of the site does fall within that shoreline overlay district. The proposal includes a 16,016 square foot building that will be used for indoor cannabis cultivation. No retail sales are proposed at the site, and approximately 10 to 15 staff members are expected. And then also just want to clarify too that indoor cannabis cultivation is a permitted use in the I-1 district. So the site complies with all of our I-1 district standards in terms of setbacks and principal building height and the impervious surface coverage for industrial, which is typically at 70%. The shoreland overlay district further limits that down to 25% within the district. So the whole site has impervious surface of about 28.9%, but within just the shoreland air overlay of the site, which doesn't quite encapsulate all of it, but most of it, staff estimated about 27.8%. So a variance is requested specifically from that standard to allow for that additional percentage in order for the site to function as proposed. The building will be a precast concrete structure that does comply with our building material standards. Equipment over 3 feet must comply with rooftop screening requirements, and the applicant did provide one perspective showing no visible equipment from the cul-de-sac. And staff just going to continue, it does have a condition of approval that the applicant team continues to demonstrate compliance with screening standards, because we only have the one view, and just making sure that that's true of the neighboring properties as well, not just the cul-de-sac, as well as just as the equipment might change as things proceed, that we're meeting that intent of the screening requirement. So some of that will be further reviewed with the building permit. So 19 parking stalls are proposed for the parking lot, and there was a concept plan that was reviewed by council, and the parking lot did have a slightly different arrangement for that, but because they heard from the council they really wanted to minimize the impervious surface limit to the extent possible, they did redesign it. So a couple things popped up. One was they no longer are meeting the 50-foot setback from Auger Avenue. So a condition of approval is they need to slide that parking lot north to be able to meet that setback. They are proposing 19 parking stalls where 40 would otherwise be required based on the footprint of the building. And then the interim use permit, the IUP, is the mechanism requested to be able to allow for that reduced parking. Additionally, public safety did review this initially, and depending on some of the characteristics of the building, such as whether it's sprinkled, a turnaround or emergency drive aisles may be needed. So I'm talking about that just because that could have some impact on the final percentage for the impervious surface limit in the shoreline, because there are some zoning and public safety requirements that they're going to have to meet, and there'll be slight adjustments that I can't fully account for at this time. For the landscaping, they're pretty close, so they are showing 24 overstory trees or equivalent, where 25 are required. So there is conditions of approval to require that they revise the plans to show 1 more tree. Same with the shrubs, they had 53 proposed, and it would actually be 54. And then no more than 33% of the required trees can be of the same species. And then you just notice that the balsam fir tree is just 1 or 2 trees above that requirement. So they'll have to trade that out for a different tree that doesn't hit that 1/3 limit. They are mostly proposing native grasses as the ground cover throughout the site. That is permitted. However, staff does have a few recommendations, as that is somewhat unusual in an industrial area. I definitely have seen it in other cities, so it's not unheard of. It's just that's not what is going to be adjacent. So staff staff did have a condition of approval in there that we do not want sod within the public right-of-way, the area that we would need most access to. We are requesting educational signage identifying the intentional use of native landscaping, because the grass will be taller. Some people might mistake it for weeds, so we're trying to minimize the code enforcement calls that we get on that. Still not a perfect system, but doing what we can to just kind of educate. And then a long-term maintenance plan for the native planting areas. Staff specifically would like attention to this area here on the east of the parking lot, where there will be new trees planted, and it's also really close to the parking lot and that neighboring property to the east. So just wanting a plan to how that will be maintained in the long term. They are proposing a rooftop solar energy system. This is intentionally done as a way to help offset some of the energy that the business would be using. That will require a separate certificate of compliance and building permit, and that is called out as a condition of approval. The business is expected to comply with security, odor control, and cannabis waste disposal requirements that we have called out in our zoning ordinance. Everything submitted so far looks like they will be able to comply. One specific condition that we've called out is just to confirm this proposed security system will cover all areas of the building, interior and exterior. We also have a zoning requirement that cannabis businesses must be at least 1,000 feet from schools and 500 feet from daycare and residential treatment facilities and public park attractions regularly used by minors. That's playgrounds, ball fields, and they are more, they exceed these by quite a bit. It's actually a fairly decent location in that it's really surrounded by industrial users. So that's for the site plan. And as we enter into the interim use permit, this is specifically for the parking reduction. So again, they are requesting 19 stalls where 40 would otherwise be required. The documentation that they've provided us to why they believe the 19 stalls will be more than enough is based on their staffing plan. Shifts will have approximately 5 to 8 employees, with 10 to 15 employees total for the business. And they are proposing 19 stalls, which would exceed the staffing requirements even if all staff is on site at one time, while also allowing for occasional visitors to the site, such as delivery vans or inspections. They believe that with this information, they would more than meet their parking demand for the site. Also, there's no customer traffic coming to the site, and reducing the parking lot requirement aids in their ability to reduce their overall impervious surface limit to the site as well. Staff did propose a few conditions of approval, so no parking on adjacent public streets. All parking must be accommodated on site. If there is a documented parking demand for the cannabis business that exceeds 19 parking spaces, the applicant shall submit a site plan and variance if applicable to the city for approval. And the city may inspect the property every 3 years or upon receipt of a parking-related complaint to verify continued compliance. Staff also proposed, the interim use permit also has a sunset clause compared to a conditional use permit. That is a specific feature of the IUP, and for that, staff proposes that basically the IUP expires and the next, they have to come in either for a new IUP or it's simply revoked, and parking will have to be adjusted. If the property is sold, transferred, or the cannabis cultivation business changes ownership or operational control. Again, if that documented parking demand starts to exceed 19 spaces, they'll have to come back in. The cannabis cultivation business ceases, or if they expand and the city determines the parking demand will increase. The cannabis cultivation business fails to meet city and state requirements, and the city council revokes the IUP pursuant to applicable ordinance provisions. And then for the variance, so again, the shoreline overlay has that 25% maximum impervious surface. The current proposal is showing about 27.8 within the shoreline. Because we know that there are some zoning, engineering, and public safety conditions that they're going to have to make some site adjustments to, staff recommends approving a variance of up to 30% impervious surface to accommodate those revisions. The practical difficulty is created by balancing the shoreline requirements, parking requirements, emergency access within a light industrial area. And staff finds the variance represents a reasonable use of the property, will not alter the character of the area. In fact, many of the sites in the industrial area are mostly impervious surface, so this is actually going to be much more natural compared to some of the other sites. And is generally consistent with our comprehensive plan. As some proposed recommended mitigation efforts of basically the effect of granting the variance, we propose a recommendation to minimize impervious surface to the maximum extent practical. What that means is if they don't need 30% and they can do it at 29%, they need to do it at 29%. So really trying to, and I think they will because they've already made an attempt to bring it down from 36% as it was shown in the concept plan. So making it practical while still also limiting it to the extent possible. And then maintain a 15-foot impervious surface setback from the delineated wetlands on the site. So this is just a summary slide for the Planning Commission. This is the same as the summary in the packet. So this is just for reference. Site plan, really the only areas of discretion was the rooftop equipment potentially if you had any specific screening requirements you wanted to see. The IUP for the parking, and then the variance for the impervious surface. Those are the largest areas of discretion that we could see. Doesn't mean that your conversation needs to be limited to this, but this is where we are specifically asking for feedback. And then for recommendation, staff recommends that the Planning Commission open the public hearing and take any testimony, and staff recommends approval of the draft resolution approving the site plan, IUP, and variance.
Thank you, Natalie. All right, at this time, we will open the public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak directly on this issue. We are going to try to hold everybody to an approximate 5 minutes, just so that we can be respectful of everybody's time and moving through. And then public comment is also just limited to anybody who is here in person. But we welcome any member of the public, and we will give the applicant an opportunity to address and answer questions as well. But if there's anyone here who would like to give us their feedback or make a public comment, you are welcome and invited to come up to the podium at this time. And if there is no one who is here to give a public comment on that, then I will make a motion to... Oh, absolutely. I don't want to move everybody through, so sometimes we got to sit in the awkward silence. It takes a little while to gather the thoughts. Yes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Certainly. My name is Kevin Pomerlow. I live in 10,009 Jack Pine Lane in Bellwood community. I don't know if any of our residents necessarily have any issues with it. We're just kind of curious, or I'm curious. I shouldn't speak for everybody else. It said no sales, right? Which, fine by me, don't care. But I wonder, so which you're going to manufacture stuff, it's got to go someplace. So do we have any idea where is it? Is it just manufactured here in Corcoran and shipped outside of Corcoran? Is it manufactured and then sold in Corcoran? Or any idea how that's going to unfold?
That is a great question, and we will allow the applicant to answer your question as soon as we've wrapped up the public hearing. So
Cool.
if you have any other questions, let us.
Yep, that's
yeah.
all that came to mind.
Perfect.
It's got to go somewhere.
That's a lot of first ones.
And is there anyone else who would like to either ask a question that would be addressed as soon as the public hearing is completed, or if there's someone who wants to make public comment? I'll give you the opportunity. Okay, well, we will go ahead. I will make a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And anyone opposed? And at this point in time, we will give the applicant, or whoever is representing the applicant, the opportunity to come. We would also just ask that whatever presentation you're giving, you would also just keep it to approximately 5 minutes for the sake of time. And then then we will have the opportunity to ask some questions, and then also an opportunity for you to answer the residents' question as well.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, it's a little.
If you feel more comfortable holding it, like.
Oh,
you're-
no,
you're
I'll just
absolutely
talk
welcome
from
to.
here and do my best.
Yeah, it's keeping your voice up just fine.
My name's Brad Varden, CEO and owner of Lost Loon, and really happy to be here for you guys. Lost Loon has been a dream of me and my brother and my family for a while. We've been really wanting to bring something wonderful to the cannabis space. It's generally not a very green space, despite the color associated with it. And Lost Loon is our dream to make a sustainable cannabis business, and will likely be one of the first, if not the first, LEED certified cannabis grow ops in the country, which my beautiful wife is doing a lot of work to ensure with her expertise. She's currently getting her PhD in sustainability education, so we have a lot of expertise to be doing this. To respond to the question, Lost Loon is going to be a grow op. We're going to be growing in Corcoran. It's a beautiful farming town. I can't think of a better place to be growing things than Corcoran. And we will be making partnerships with many dispensaries around the city where you'll be able to get our products. But they will not be for sale at this location, as the I-1 district doesn't allow for any sort of retail sales. It is purely a grow op and will be that till the end of time. I don't think I have too much else to respond to at the moment, but again, thank you guys so much for the opportunity. Commissioners, we appreciate your time and the amount of care you put into the response to our submission.
Can you just clarify one thing? You said dispensaries around the city. We don't have dispensaries at this point.
I meant the Twin Cities.
Okay, perfect. Very
Yeah,
good.
just for clarification, the Twin Cities area, obviously with the current laws, all of our products need to be sold within Minnesota. We can't move them outside the state. So ideally, we're selling them throughout the state at any dispensary that wants high-quality, crafted, environmentally friendly cannabis.
Thank you. At this point, before you take a seat, if you don't mind, just because it'll prevent you from having to come back and forth, I know I have a few questions, but I'd like to offer the opportunity for any of the commissioners who have specific questions for the applicant to go ahead and we can in turn ask our questions.
I did have a question. On one of the pages in multiple pages that we received as commissioners, on page like 76 and 78, it showed like 18 RTUs, the rooftop units. You guys have like one of those for each like area, grow area in the...
I think Dan and Brian, can you guys speak more to the, our engineering team would be more equipped to answer your question.
You want me to answer now, or do we?
Yeah, that's the best way.
The best way would be if you could come up to the microphone, yeah, and answer the question. And my guess is if it's related to electricity, you might want to just stay there.
Well, I'll try and answer the question as best as possible.
Thank you.
Brian Gadient with Momentum Design Group, we're the architects for the project. Unfortunately, the engineers would be the best to offer up the exact answer, but yes, there are that many. There's roughly 2 per grow room, 1 for the office space, and I believe there's another 2 for the irrigation and grow rooms.
And I guess
So,
my
yes.
concern was just the screening, because you did show the one view, and you did say that that was going to be looked at, so that, because the front-on picture shows lots of little squares up there that
Yes.
you can see, but you wouldn't be seeing it because obviously people are down here and it's up there, so. I do want to say I appreciate all the thought that you guys put into this, the LEED certification. I think the native planting is probably to work like as a bioswale, which helps with the permeable.
We deeply care about the environment and the community. We want to bring something to Corcoran that's special and show how much we care. We want to be a good community member. We want to be good neighbors. That's really important to us.
I was really impressed with what I read in there, and it's kind of nice that we can maybe finally get an industrial business into this site, since I guess it's been open since the 70s. Thank you.
And regarding any screening, we do have structural capability as putting screens around each one of the units or as a whole. So if it is becoming a problem, or if it is visible by a certain location, we can certainly adapt to that. One of the questions that I have is, how would you like us to show that at this point that we comply without getting into?
At this point in time, if the application moves forward with a recommendation for approval to council, it sort of remains in flux. We trust that the applicant would meet the standards and the city holds you accountable to meeting those standards.
Correct. Yeah, right now the condition of approval is that it be further review of the building permit.
Sure.
So,
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you. Do any other commissioners? Hargreaves?
Yes, I want to mirror what Commissioner Koziski said in terms of the LEED certification. I mean, I applaud you guys for pursuing that. That's really good, especially in this environment that we have.
It's tough, and it's not easy
it's
for
not
this
cheap.
kind of business, and
Yeah,
that's
it's
why
not
most
cheap.
people don't go for it. It's a lot of extra costs, a lot of extra time, and a lot of design work that we've got an amazing team doing tons of great work. I've been more and more impressed with them every day. So what you guys saw, so much time and effort and care went into it, and thank you for your comments.
Yeah. The only other comment I have is an aesthetic one, and that would be thoughts of putting some kind of horizontal band closer to grade,
Okay.
like at door height, just to break up the mass.
Sure.
I have some questions, unless either one of you would like to, do you have?
Mine are just more positive comments, so, and they kind of
Okay.
mimic a lot.
I just have some questions.
I do have one question.
Go for it.
I just want to clarify, I think I know what you meant, but you said grow op. I'm familiar with co-op.
Yes.
I'm assuming you meant grow operation, not grow op as in
Yeah.
co-op? Okay.
Grow op is in grow operation, sorry.
No, no.
In industry terminology.
That was it.
Okay, Commissioner Sherber, would you like to go?
I'm all good. I mean, I think it's great. I like the solar aspect. I don't want to jeopardize the units on the roof if that's what's needed for that operation.
Mhm.
I think you have reasonable accommodations and prepared or if needed. But that was my biggest thing, is I didn't want to jeopardize the units needed for those grow rooms, and so yeah, more impressed by the design and excited for the future. I think there's promising stuff.
Thank you so much, Commissioner.
So I have some concerns, not with the business or with with the site plan. I think, I love the sustainability aspect of it, but here is the deal. In the last 20 days, the power has gone out 4 times. And so when we're talking about, I think, I read it on the National Legislative report on the electricity usage. And they said in 2015, the average electricity of a 5,000 square foot facility in Boulder County was 41,808 kilowatts per month, while the average household uses 630 kilowatts. And so your building is over 3 times that size. Do you know what your estimated electricity usage will be per month?
I have that number somewhere, not off the top of my head. Do you?
And I know it changes because there is a certain point in the growth cycle in which the plants are requiring 18
Mhm.
hours of light a day.
12 hours.
So even in bloom, it's always 12 hours.
So during vegetative stage, the first month of the plant growth, we do an 18-hour, but then we switch over to a 12 and 12 schedule. We're planning on staggering those to help with those electricity concerns, so that we'll have some rooms that are running and some that are off, and then they will switch over at the same time, so that it keeps our overall electrical usage down. I can get our electrical usage numbers. It's definitely been something we've been working very hard to manage and get down for y'all. I don't have those numbers on me, but I can get them for you.
I would appreciate that because and I guess one of the things that I feel like is missing from this, because it's just been missing from the conversation in general, is that usually when we have a site plan or a review, we're not looking at what is the overall electrical usage of that business going to be in an I-1. But this is significant electrical usage at a time when our potential supplier does not have the ability to continually maintain what already exists. And so to approve something that's going to draw, and I applaud the solar panels, but we all know there is no way that those solar panels are going to, I mean, that would be the other number. How much are you anticipating for the solar panels? Are you storing it in batteries on site, or is it going back to the distributor through the line?
That's gonna be an additional question as well.
Right.
So it'll be going back into the grid from our site. The current structure of how power is done in Minnesota is everything goes back to the grid, and then the power company essentially cuts you a check for an amount / reduction in your bill for how much that you generated. So all of the energy is going to be going straight back into the grid, and in a way actually help with some of those power concerns. But
Comparatively, how much are we
comparatively,
generating?
we'll be
versus how
generating
much we're
about
using?
10% of the business's needs from just the solar panels alone. And then to address anything else, we'll have backup generators.
Right, which ultimately, because that's the other thing when we think about power outage, I don't know if it's gone out of the industrial, but yes, then your generators would have to kick in order to maintain, because you don't just have the grow lights, you've got the ventilation, you've got the AC or heat, you've got oscillating fans, like.
But we have a, not to interrupt, I apologize. We
No.
have a low power mode setting for the entire building when we have a power outage and need to use those that we will rely on, because obviously we'd love to be growing the plants at a full strength, but the important part, we can lose a day of light. We want to maintain that light schedule, and you do not need very powerful lights. So our energy usage in that kind of case can be reduced dramatically for a short period of time.
And then the question for the city, and I know it's a number we don't have, but how does the usage, if we get their numbers of their kilowatt usage, how does that compare to your average I-1 industrial building?
I couldn't tell you, so it's not part of our site plan review, as you had said, in terms of, we don't look at necessarily the plumbing.
I understand, and I think that is a massive mistake, because there is, like it came up our last application, is that there's no limit on the number of cultivators in the city. So ultimately, we could approve every single cultivator that came through and have these massive draws of electricity that are significantly impacting residents who are here, and we don't have any mechanism in our review process to have that bear weight. And to me, that's a big mistake. And so that's why I said I understand that, like, it doesn't fall into the purview. And I mentioned this the last time that we had an application, is that I think that it was hastily moving forward without really thinking through some of the things that needed to be thought through at the state level. So I'm just going to reiterate that. And then I guess my concern, well, also, you indicated that the distance from all parks is more than 500 feet, but what is the distance from Heritage Park? Do we know?
I can look at it, I know it's more than 500 feet.
Less than 1,000, but more than 500?
Let me pull up my map.
Is there any issue with Meister Field being, is that right behind there, or is that?
No,
further back?
I think that's the nearest field, because it can't just be from like the park boundary, it has to be
Right.
from the field or the playground. So they are about, so to their northern property line, which isn't where the building's located, so it would typically go from the building location to the field edge, but as a rough estimate, they're 650 feet from their northern property line to a rough field edge based on the aerial. So if they are above the 500 feet, there are it looks like 4 properties between there's one large property between County Road 50 and this property, and then there's a couple of smaller properties as well to the east and west of the larger property. So there's a bit of a buffer in terms of they're going to be a little hidden from the park.
I mean, I drive past the park on my way to the city hall, and it's full of families right now playing soccer and t-ball, and so I think, 650 feet, we have met the 500 feet requirements, but that is a concern of mine. And then, I guess, my thoughts regarding the IUP for the parking spots, as well as the variance, is that both things could be solved by reducing the size of the building. And we could then meet the impervious surface under the code as well as the parking spots. And the only reason is because I'm almost always for fewer parking spots, but my concern is if this has, so let's say that their business grows and then they can no longer adequately fit, like they need more than the 19 parking spots. What are the options at that point in time?
Commissioner, may I make a comment? It is impossible for our business to grow due to the state regulations concerning flowering rooms. This business will not be growing any larger than it currently is. We literally cannot. It is illegal for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as far as, I don't know that the reduction would be, so there's a couple things happening. The current footprint of the building requires 40 parking stalls. Even if they reduce it by a couple thousand square feet, it's still gonna be like 38, 35. So they're still gonna need an IUP for reduced parking spot, so that they aren't having to put in parking that they aren't going to need in order to meet the goals of the shoreline overlay. As far as what would happen theoretically, if something were to change and they were to expand to some extent, the IUP would expire, so, and then they would need to come back to the city council with either a chance to approve a new variance in the impervious surface, new reduction based on their current parking needs at that point. So they basically would have to come in, the way we've written IUP is we're trying to encourage that they would come in on the front end rather than it being a code complaint on the back end. But as I would say that the site is limited, so the city could say, we're not gonna approve another variance, we're not gonna approve another IUP, so you would need to reduce your usage, you're not gonna be able to
Right,
expand.
it becomes
this
restrictive
location.
at that point in time.
Yeah.
So then, and it expires with the sunset clause in the sale of the business, but that also then limits what can come in there. And this came up when we were talking about the temple on County Road 10 as well, because we changed what was considered the principal structure on that property, and it does have an impact in the future, because and I know that we're looking at the application that's in front of us, but because it is a request for an IUP, that's why I'm considering it, is if we're reducing it and then it's restrictive for their business to grow, but it's also restrictive for anything else to move there in the future.
Yeah, basically, whoever comes in next would have to come to the city and.
With a usage that would only
Yep.
need those
Only need the
19,
19
or
stalls,
apply for an IUP.
Or reduce the building, reduce their business impact, yes.
Or tear down the building and start again.
Yes, so they would have to deal with it at that point. That's the limitation of the IUP. We could take that out. We typically have had some language in there that once the use changes, we want to review it. So I would recommend we keep that.
No matter what.
Yes, yeah, so that's what that trigger is. Like,
Sure.
once the user changes, once the use changes, we want to review it to make sure the parking's gonna work. And so that kind of forces it to come back to the city to review, instead of having potentially a user come in and just kind of flip-flop it, and all of a sudden there are 30 cars up parking on it. Not that we wouldn't have some ability to review it, it's just that I think we have much more teeth if it's all called out in the IUP.
Okay, well, those are my concerns, and I guess I just still feel like, I guess I don't know how that fits into it, but my concern is still just the electrical usage.
And Commissioner Brummond, I had a question about that that grow operation in Colorado that you looked up. A lot of these grow operations are rated by the size of their flowering area. And I'm just curious if that might be what they were quoting in the study, or whether it was the size of the building.
I will be happy to share with you, it actually was not specific, it was a national legislators group that speaks to electricity and usage, as it's a rising concern for a number around the country, so it's not
sure.
just, and obviously we as consumers, we don't have the option to then just go to a different power supplier, we have who we have, and so I feel like that changes, that shapes some of my concern,
For sure.
because if I can't get consistent and regular electricity, which a lot of us are very dependent on for various reasons, but we don't have the option of going somewhere else to try to get more, so we have to look at, and again, I don't know how this compares, the usage that you have to other like size, and I don't even know how we would get that information.
Yeah.
And also we have to keep in mind that zoning is somewhat limited. Electrical use is not typically something that zoning does look at, and having a nexus to the district and the site. So I hear you, and I just don't know that zoning is gonna be the answer to the electrical issue.
Then my concern is, where does that concern go? Because it's a big, like,
And I think that's fair, but I don't know that we can't solve it as part of the site plan. I think that is basically what I'm trying to say, because there's a limitation to the what zoning can do,
Right.
and electrical usage isn't something zoning does.
I hear that,
Chair,
but,
can I respond maybe to some of what you're saying?
oh, yeah, absolutely, we can have some discussion. If you guys want to take a seat, then if nobody else has any specific questions.
Yeah, just real quick.
I did have,
I really appreciate
Oh.
that you,
sorry, I just had one quick question for him.
Sorry.
Is there a, I didn't know if I saw it on the rendering, is there, and sorry to change topic, is there a signage on the, it's like the rear short side of the building? I saw like there was the emblem on the front.
The idea is to not have any further signage other than the emblem. It's kind of a situation where the only people that would really be needing to come there is the people that already know it's there. It's not really like something we need to throw a sign up and advertise, because all of our sales will ostensibly be made elsewhere.
That'd be my only thing, I was just saying, because that's, I faced the park, and so I was just
Yep.
gonna say like
No,
if it
Nothing
didn't draw
there.
attention, so.
You know, I've said it once and I'll say it again. Ideally, this business is like a frog. If you can't see it and you can't hear it, it doesn't exist.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
and Madam Chair, I appreciate what you brought up. I think that's a really good point. I do think too that it could possibly be something that could be addressed similar to we did with the mini storage thing when they started proliferating in Corcoran. If we do see a lot of businesses come online that seem to be real energy, I mean, data centers would be the one thing that would come to my mind that's been a huge deal in a lot of communities, and there's nothing to say they won't come here too. But there is the option to put a moratorium on too. And if Hennepin is not kind of meeting the need for us to expand our businesses, that seems to be a problem and not to be addressed here. But I also have to give these guys kudos for the solar aspect, and wondering if maybe battery storage is something you've looked at too, because that could keep you powered instead of a diesel generator.
I don't think you're allowed to in the state of Minnesota, like, I don't know that that's how that they would allow that, but.
They're actually doing, Excel Energy is actually doing a study right now where they're giving businesses batteries to work as a backup system so that they can actually see how that load balancing works and how to actually use these distributed energy resources as an alternative to a peaker plant, which is very, very expensive. And if the state of Minnesota can keep from building these expensive peaker plants, all of our rates go down. So the more distributed energy that we have, the better for the community, the better for the individuals, the better for the power companies. Maybe getting off track, but
Hi.
kind of a
No, it's a good point. Jessica Varden, Lost Loon. We are looking into battery storage as like the next phase of our business once we are up and running to, again, kind of reduce the strain on the grid. We would also love to expand our solar eventually. We were even looking into a solar carport over the parking lot, some freestanding. Unfortunately, Corcoran does not allow that. But if Corcoran ever were to change those rules, we would love to add more solar to, again, even offset more of our demand.
I think it's something that's happening quickly because all of these new technologies and all these distributed energy resources, and the battery, in the last couple of years, it's really come a long way. And I mean, there's just a lot of options that may not have been viable options in the past, and now they're becoming very viable. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Yep. Does anyone else have questions, concerns, discussion? All right, someone ready to make a motion?
I would
That's
like
also
to
on the
make a
table.
motion to approve the site plan, IUP, and the variance with the accommodations that the staff has recommended.
Before we take a vote, there is a motion and a second. I just want to ask my fellow commissioners, you guys you see it as a practical difficulty that the building you don't believe that the issues with the IUP, or not the IUP, but the variance in particular, could be solved by changing the footprint of the building.
I would consider that. I had actually made a note on that, but I think it's just such a minor difference, and I really do think that they've accommodated for it with some of the native plantings in the bioswale and things like that. That it doesn't, it's not a concern to me personally.
Again, it's not a concern to me either.
Okay, at this point in time, then we will take a vote, because we have a motion and a second. So the motion is for an approval of the site plan, the IUP, and the variance. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed, nay. Then we will go ahead, and what happens at this point in time is that a recommendation will move forward to council. This will go on council's agenda, and you will have the opportunity to present the application. I don't believe it will go into consent agenda, but you'll get more information. That just means there'll be another opportunity for a public hearing, or
So
not a
the
public hearing,
public hearing is
another
done,
opportunity
yeah.
for you to come before council, and they would have discussion. So then, the only thing that we have left at this point in time is planning project update, because we do not have a city council update tonight. So is there anything, any questions that you guys have regarding planning items for staff, or is there anything that staff would like to review with the commissioners?
Madam Chair, staff doesn't have anything identified, but happy to answer any questions the commission has.
Okay, and if you guys don't have anything that you want to review with staff during the meeting, then just everybody take note of the suggested or recommended commissioner liaison calendar. I don't believe that there are any work sessions or, well, this Thursday at the council meeting, I will just say that the Hennepin County Commissioner will be present to give a presentation to the council. So if anyone from the commissioners or the residents are interested in hearing that report, I'd invite you to attend this Thursday's city council meeting. And otherwise, at this point in time, we will make, I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? All right, then tonight.